In the name of Allah. Hello. Welcome to the second chapter of introducing tourist places. This season has been blessed with changes in the description of this clip. But in this clip, I will introduce you to one of the most visited tourist places in the world, Niagara Falls. And I also promise you that in the next clip we will travel to the Great Wall of China. If you love tourist places and enjoy these clips, don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, let's go. Niagara Falls is one of the most famous waterfalls and the most beautiful landscapes in the world, located on the international border of the two countries of America and Canada, an amazing waterfall that attracts more than 13 million tourists every year. This waterfall is the result of thousands of years of water flow on the ground. Niagara in the native language translates as sound of thunder, a name that is perfect for this waterfall. As soon as tourists approach the waterfall, even before seeing Niagara, they hear the terrible sound of thousands of liters of water falling from the height, an experience that is completed by seeing the magnificent view of Niagara Falls. Many people around the world mistakenly believe that Niagara is the tallest waterfall in the world. But you should know that Tagla Falls in South Africa with a height of 948 meters is the highest waterfall in the world, and there are more than hundreds of waterfalls higher than Niagara in the world. Niagara is ranked 13th in the list of the widest waterfalls in the world and 11th in the list of the volume of falling water. Next, come with us on a journey among the sparkling drops of water and sit watching the reflection of the sunlight in a waterfall in the midst of pristine and unique nature. Niagara Falls is located on the border of the United States and Canada in the province of Ontario from the territory of Canada and in the state of New York from the territory of the United States. This waterfall, located at the southern end of the Niagara River Gorge, is actually a collection of three waterfalls called Horseshoe Falls, American Falls, and Bridal Veil Falls. The Niagara River flows from south to north and carries water from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. The Horseshoe Waterfall is located in the Canadian section and the American Waterfall is located in the American section. These two waterfalls are separated by Goat Island. The smaller Niagara Waterfall is located in the American part and is separated from the other two waterfalls by Luna Island. It is interesting to know that the international border between the two countries of America and Canada originally passes through the Horseshoe Falls since 1819, after the signing of the Ghent Peace Treaty, but this border is disputed due to land erosion and constructions. This waterfall complex is located 27 kilometers north and northwest of Buffalo, the second largest city in the state of New York, USA, and 121 kilometers south and southeast of Toronto, between the twin cities of Niagara Falls, Ontario, and Niagara Falls, New York. The city of Niagara Falls, Ontario is larger and more populated than its American counterpart. Also, Niagara Falls is located 75 kilometers southeast of Toronto, and because of the distance between Toronto and Niagara, many tourists prefer to take a one-day trip to this area instead of staying in Niagara Falls. The best way to visit Niagara Falls, especially Horseshoe Falls, is to go to the Table Rock Welcome Center west of Horseshoe Falls in Canada, a center that provides you with many facilities to visit Niagara Falls. You can watch this beautiful and huge waterfall from above by going to the viewing platform above the western corner of the waterfall from a very short distance, a waterfall with a roaring sound and a height of 53 meters that will amaze you with its grandeur. The route from Toronto to Niagara Falls is one of the easiest and best routes to reach this waterfall. Toronto is about 130 kilometers away from Niagara Falls, and one of the easiest ways to get to the falls is to use shuttle buses. On the way to the falls, Lake Ontario, in western New York State, is on your left, and if you look carefully, you can see the village of Niagara on the other side of the lake. After crossing the lake, the famous Niagara Falls will appear before your eyes. There are two types of buses in Canada. People mover buses run on a 30 km route around Niagara Attractions, Indiana, Canada. The tickets for these buses are reasonably priced and you can use them for one day with one ticket. Note that these buses operate seasonally. Transport Ontario Niagara also has detailed bus routes that go to major attractions on the other side of the falls, but these buses have different lines, fares and schedules. You can also rent a car or take a taxi from Toronto to Niagara Falls. Many people choose the option of a day trip due to the proximity of this attraction to Toronto, but we suggest you stay the night in that area to see the beauty of Niagara Falls at night. If you are visiting Niagara Falls from America, the fastest and easiest way is to fly to Buffalo International Airport from New York. Rent a car from there to reach the Rainbow Bridge, about 400 meters from the American Falls, after traveling for about 40 kilometers. Keep in mind that the roads in this area are busy and parking is expensive, so you can use the option of round-trip services from the airport so that your trip is not stressful and you pay less. On the New York side, the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority provides a large system of trains, trolleys, and buses throughout the Buffalo and Niagara Falls area. This system is cheap and the best way to get around Niagara is on foot. Walking around the area is relatively easy when there is no snow. Meanwhile, when the weather is good, walking around the waterfall or the areas around the hotels on the Canada or New York side can be a fun experience. To cross the border from America to Canada, you have to walk over the Rainbow Bridge for only 20 minutes. The attractions in Niagara Falls are close and you can go to them on foot. Of course, if you feel tired, use the efficient and comfortable transportation services in the area. It is safe. Many people think that Niagara Falls is a waterfall, while this waterfall consists of three smaller waterfalls named American Waterfall, Bridal Veil, and Horseshoe, from left to right. Horseshoe Waterfall. The Horseshoe Falls, also known as the Canadian Falls, is the largest and tallest waterfall in the Niagara Falls series, most of which is located in Canada, Ontario Province. More than 90% of the water of the Niagara River flows through the Horseshoe Falls after it is diverted to supply two hydroelectric power plants, and the remaining 10% falls from a height through the other two waterfalls of the Niagara Falls complex. This V-shaped waterfall is located exactly between Terrapin Point on Goat Island in the state of New York and Table Rock in Ontario, Canada. The length of the Horseshoe Waterfall is 792.4 meters and its height is 50.9 meters. The volume of water falling from this waterfall is estimated to be 110,000 to 168,000 cubic meters per minute. Of course, the volume of water changes slightly with the change of season. Horseshoe Waterfall is the strongest waterfall in North America due to the height of the waterfall and the intensity of the flow. Soil erosion is very intense in the Horseshoe Waterfall section, so that from 1980 to today, about 120 meters of the infrastructure of this waterfall has been lost. Geologists believe that land erosion will continue in the Niagara Falls area, especially in the Horseshoe Falls section, and this erosion has no stopping point. For this very reason, Niagara has become one of the most challenging borders in the world. Looking at Horseshoe Falls and American Falls, you see them on the same level, while the American waterfall is only 34 meters high at its highest point. These two waterfalls are seen at the same level due to the presence of a giant boulder in the lower part of the American waterfall, a stone slab that is naturally placed at that point. American Waterfall. American Abshar is located entirely in America and is part of the state of New York. The width of this waterfall is about 250 meters. The height of the American waterfall is different in different parts, but it is 21 meters in the shortest part and 34 meters in the highest part. The appearance of the American waterfall looks like the letter W, the appearance that was created due to the grinding of stones by water pressure during the last 150 years. The northern side of this waterfall has been completely destroyed since 1954. A group of U.S. Army engineers gathered in 1969 to find a solution to prevent the destruction of the American waterfall, because Niagara is one of the most important tourist attractions of this continent. This group succeeded in reducing soil erosion in 1970 by changing some areas of the Niagara catchment. Bridal Veil Waterfall. The Bridal Veil or Bridal Veil is the smallest part of Niagara Falls and is located on the American side or New York State. The length of this waterfall, which was known as Luna and Iris in the past, is about 24 meters. The water of Niagara's waterfall hits the rocks known as Taillow stones and then flows into the lake. This waterfall does not have a special shape and its water is poured directly down. The actual volume of water is always changing due to the presence of two hydroelectric power plants. These two power plants direct water into their reservoirs and their water consumption has a great impact on the water volume of the waterfalls. The amount of water sucked into the tanks depends on two factors, the time of day and the time of the year. The water flow reaches its maximum during the peak days of the tourist season, i.e. June, July, and August, and in emergency situations, the water flow decreases with the increase in the consumption of power plants. The intensity of the water flow of Niagara Falls is at its lowest in the winter season. How to distinguish different Niagara Falls? One of the important questions of tourists when traveling to Niagara Falls is that if these three waterfalls are known as Niagara, why should they be separated? And how to distinguish different Niagara Falls? The main reason for separating Niagara Falls is the income and financial capital from tourists in the region. As mentioned earlier, Niagara Falls is located exactly on the border of two countries, therefore, the exact amount of each country's ownership of this significant natural phenomenon is an important and very important issue, but how exactly are these three waterfalls separated? Each of the three Niagara Falls is separated from each other by an island. In fact, there are two islands between these three waterfalls, which are known as Goat Island and Luna Island, and they help us to easily distinguish between these three waterfalls. Niagara Falls Islands. Goat Island. Goat Island is a small piece of land in the middle of the Niagara River that separates Horseshoe Falls and Bridal Veil from each other. This island is located in the southwest of Niagara Falls in the state of New York and is one of the uninhabited islands in the world that attracts many tourists every year. Goat Island is one of the popular attractions for people who plan to visit Niagara Falls from America. There are two bridges on Goat Island. One of these bridges extends to a smaller island called Luna and the other to the city center. Interesting statue of Nikola Tesla, inventor, electrical engineer, mechanic, and physicist of Serbian-American origin, is one of the attractions of this island. Nikola Tesla, who is known as the inventor of the 20th century, lived from 1856 to 1943, and this statue was built to commemorate his service on Goat Island. Luna Island. Luna Island is located between American Falls and Niagara and is smaller than Goat Island. This island has a small area of about 40 meters by 110 meters, and until the last few years it was connected to Goat Island only by a wooden bridge. Luna Island is now equipped with a metal bridge that tourists can walk on to see both the American Falls and the Bridal Veil. There are different opinions regarding the reason and history of the naming of Niagara Falls. According to one theory, this name was derived from the word Niagara in the local language, a name that has become the word Niagara over time. According to another theory, the name of Niagara Falls is derived from the name Niagara, which means the rocky cut of the earth. This name goes back to the 17th century. According to the theory of a researcher named Mrs. Kerr, the name of Niagara Falls is a mysterious name mixed with Sahar, which means a narrow and long neck, a name that compares Niagara to the narrow neck of the earth. Another explorer named George Rippey Stewart also believes that this name is derived from a small town called Niagara. The meaning of the name of the city is the place where the earth is divided into two halves. Facts about Niagara Falls. The Niagara River is home to many endangered and rare plant and animal species such as the orange fish. The waterfall is seen in green, and this is due to the wear of the rocks in this area. In total, 30 centimeters of rocks in different areas of Niagara are eroded every year. The flowing waters of Niagara Falls do not have sediment and its clarity is very eye-catching. 3,160 tons of water flow from Niagara Falls every second, including 75,750 gallons of water from the American and Bridal Veil Falls and 681,750 gallons from the Horseshoe Falls. Horseshoe Waterfall once and American Waterfall 6 times have frozen so far. Niagara Falls can produce 4 million kilowatts of electricity, a force that is divided between the United States and Canada. The water that falls from Niagara Falls every second is enough to feed a family for 7 years. 140 hectares of Niagara Falls State Park on the American side are underwater. The first person to see and describe Niagara Falls was a French priest named Louis Hennepin. In 1885, a carriage ride around Niagara Falls cost $1. Some of the films Niagara, Superman, and Pirates of the Caribbean were filmed in Niagara. In the last 10 years, 2 witches lost their lives trying to conquer Niagara. If someone goes down the waterfall, he must pay a fine of $10,000. Blondin was a string player who performed several times in the mid-1800s in the Niagara Gorge. He has done everything from walking blindfolded to carrying a gas stove and preparing an omelette at height in these performances. Annie Edson Taylor is the first person to jump from Niagara. She was a 63-year-old woman who decided to do something strange on her birthday in 1901. To protect his life, he went into a barrel and threw himself down from the top of the waterfall and survived. The impact of Niagara Falls on industry and commerce. In addition to the tourism industry, Niagara Falls has had other effects on the American and Canadian economy, the most important of which is its colorful role in power supply and transportation. Energy supply. Niagara Falls has been known as a natural potential energy source for more than 200 years, and the first attempt to exploit its power dates back to 1759, sometime in 1805 AD. In this year, the waterfall was used to power the mills of the grain planting fields and also the leather factory. 1853 AD, in this year, the power of Niagara Falls was used to supply hydraulic energy to factories and mines. 1881 AD, the first power plant was built in this year by Jacob F. A power plant that was used to supply electricity to some nearby villages. 1890 AD, a commission of 5 of the best scientists of the time was formed in this year to investigate the capacity of generating electricity from the water of Niagara Falls and provide the best proposed methods for exploiting this power. Finally, 17 proposals were presented by this commission. 1893 AD, in this year, a mission was given to the Westinghouse Company to design the best system to harness the power of Niagara Falls. In 1896, the turbines of this waterfall produced more than 75 megawatts of electricity and supplied electricity to the region up to the city of Buffalo, a city that is 32 kilometers away from Niagara Falls. At this time, Other companies contributed significantly to the production of electricity by placing 5,000 water wheels in the Niagara River. Gradually, private companies in Canada thought of building a power plant in Niagara. 1906 AD, in this year, the Canadian government issues permission for the private sector to produce electricity from the falls, and several more power plants are built in Niagara Falls. 1956 AD, a great disaster occurs in this year and the largest power plant in the region is destroyed at once due to landslides and soil erosion. This event causes a sudden drop in power generation from Niagara and many people lose their jobs. 1961, another Niagara Falls becomes the largest supplier of electricity in the West this year, a waterfall that is still one of the most important sources of energy production in New York. At present, the water of Niagara Falls flows through 4 big tunnels between the power plants of America and Canada. 2003 to 2013, during these years, the engineering department of the Ontario Power Plant presents and implements a plan to increase the power generated by this waterfall. Transportation. Ships can pass near Niagara Falls through a waterway in Welland Township, a unique opportunity to watch the waterfall from a short distance for travelers. The municipality of Niagara Region is located in Welland Town. In addition, a car bridge named Rainbow has been built over the Niagara River, which non-commercial vehicles can also cross. This bridge, which is considered one of the oldest bridges built in the region, has helped a lot in transportation and earning income through tourists. Fatal events in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is a magical and beautiful place that also has a violent and scary face. According to research conducted between 1850 and 2011, 5,000 people died in this waterfall. Research also showed that more than 40 people choose Niagara to commit suicide every year. 55 to 70% of the suicides in this waterfall are done by Canada. The fatality rate associated with sudden falls of adventurers while jumping or climbing Niagara Falls is also high. In the following, we will mention some fatal incidents in Niagara Falls. October 1, 1995, on this date, Robert Overick goes over Niagara Falls with his jet ski and jumps down from Niagara with a parachute, but his parachute does not open at the right time and unfortunately Robert falls. He dies before reaching the hospital. October 22, 2003, on this date, Kirk Jones decided to swim over Niagara Falls and jump down to become the first person to survive Niagara without any special equipment. He brings his friends to watch, but before the fall, he is arrested and fined. He is deported from Canada and no longer has the right to enter Canada. March 10, 2009, an unidentified man attempts to commit suicide by jumping off Niagara Falls on this date. Some of his bones break during the fall and his clothes are torn, but it survives. August 4, 2011, on this date, a Japanese student named Ayano Tokumasu fell from the waterfall. According to the CCTV footage of the waterfall guards, he climbed the fence around the waterfall, his feet slipped and he fell down. May 2012, a 40-year-old man jumped into the Horseshoe waterfall without any protection. He did not die, but his ribs were broken and his lung was seriously damaged. How was Niagara Falls formed? The entire Great Lakes Basin and the Niagara River are a legacy of the last ice age, 1.7 million years ago. Southern Ontario was covered with an ice sheet 2 or 3 kilometers thick about 18,000 years ago, and the advance of the ice sheets to the south created the Great Lakes Basin. As time passed and these ice sheets melted for the last time towards the north, these basins were filled with ice. It is interesting to know that the water we consume today is actually fossil water or melted water. Each year, only 1% of these waters are renewable, and the rest is supplied through ice masses. About 12,500 years ago, the Niagara Peninsula was gradually deglaciated. As the ice melted northward, the ice from Lake Erie, the Niagara River, and Lake Ontario flowed into the St. Lawrence River and from there to the sea. At first, there were 5 catchments from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario, but in the end, these 5 watersheds were reduced to one watershed, Niagara Falls. Since then, the waterfall began to continuously erode its bedrock. Finally, the process of erosion stopped about 10,500 years ago due to mutual geological effects such as successive retreats and advances of the ice and the return of the Earth. One of the interesting facts about Niagara Falls is that about 10,900 years ago today's Niagara was located in the area between Queenston in Ontario and Lewiston in New York. But soil erosion over time caused this area to retreat 10 kilometers to the south. Ice Age glaciers once again passed by southern Ontario and changed their course towards northern Ontario. Over the next 5,000 years, Lake Erie was reduced to half its current size, the flow of the Niagara River was reduced to 10% of its current flow, and the low water falls of the Niagara Glen area stopped flowing completely. It was about 5,500 years ago that the glaciers again passed through southern Ontario and succeeded in reviving the river and waterfall with their great force. The collision was essentially a short-lived but intense geological moment that lasted for weeks or perhaps just a few days. At this moment, the waterfall of the young Niagara River met with the bed of an old river, a river that was blocked for long periods during the last ice age. The water flow of the waterfall changed its direction to this buried valley and removed all the remains and ice masses and washed the old river bed. Most likely, the flow of water at that time was more like a raging and huge rapid than a waterfall. After the end of this process, what remained was a 90-degree turn in the river, which today is known as a whirlpool and rapids, a rapid that is considered the largest series of standing waves in North America. After that, around the Whirlpool Rapids Bridge area, the falls flowed back upriver, cutting through the rocks to reach its present location between the cities of Ontario and New York. The raging Niagara River flows over a rock made of dolomite and clay. 1/5 of the world's fresh water is located in the 4 Great Lakes of Michigan, Huron, Superior, and Erie, the water that flows into the Niagara River and finally falls from the Niagara Falls. Over time, 5 distinct canyons, the Lewiston Branch Canyon, the Narrow Canyon, the Upper and Lower Great Gorges, and the Whirlpool Narrow Gorge, were created during the erosion process. Niagara is a relatively young river and is only about 12,000 years old. This lifetime is equal to 1/1,000,000th of a second on the geological time scale. The water at the bottom of the waterfall travels a 24 km path through passes and valleys to finally reach Ontario, the 5th Great Lake. The land between the lakes has a steep slope. This steep slope has led to the creation of a magnificent and spectacular precipice with the height of a 20-story building, which is known as the Niagara Precipice. Niagara Falls was formed during the process of erosion and has a longer life than Niagara Falls. This abyss was buried under a layer of ice 2 million years ago. Niagara is a relatively young river and is only about 12,000 years old. At the same time as the last ice age, sedimentary layers were formed by the compression of the ice on the Earth. The slow process of ice and water erosion eroded the surface of the abyss and made it into its present form. Nearly 500 years ago, the Niagara River hit a barrier, dividing it into 2 waterways. As a result of this collision, Goat Island was created, an island named after John Stedman's goat herd. This herd died in the winter of 1780 due to the cold. Goat Island is actually the sedimentary material of a vanished lake called Tonawanda. In the eastern part of Goat Island, the American Falls, and in the western part, where the river makes a 90-degree angle, the Horseshoe Falls appeared. The water flow in the American part of the waterfall is less intense due to the presence of Goat Island, while in the Horseshoe Waterfall there is no obstacle to divert the flow of water. A narrower waterfall can also be seen here, a waterfall that was known by different names over the years, but today it is called Tourist Waterfall. Throughout history, humans, and even modern engineers have not been able to fully control the flow of water in the Niagara River. Currently, most of the available water is directed to power plants through underground channels and pipes. In 1848, all the waters of Niagara Falls froze due to extreme cold. For about 30 to 40 days, all the turbines of this waterfall stopped working and many factories were closed. Trying to save Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls has historically been an inspiring place for artists, writers, filmmakers, and visitors. Attention to this waterfall increased as a tourist attraction after the First World War, and every year, more tourists traveled to America and Canada to visit this natural attraction. But unfortunately, the construction of turbines and the gathering of tourists in the 20th century caused Niagara Falls to lose its natural shape and appearance. In addition, the power plants also threatened the natural beauty of this area. Conditions for Niagara Falls were getting worse day by day until in 1969, a large amount of water flow was diverted to Canada so that the large volume of water would do less damage to the appearance of the falls. U.S. Army engineers also built other dams in 1980 to divert water and reduce the volume of water in this area. So far, several tons of concrete have been injected into the lower part of the waterfall to make it stronger. Efforts to divert water and excavate rocks are also ongoing. Niagara Falls attractions. Niagara Falls is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world and one of the best honeymoon destinations in the world. A romantic and at the same time roaring and violent waterfall with the smell of damp and fresh plants. Walking in the grounds and watching Niagara Falls is possible 365 days a year and is completely free. Of course, the fun and sights of Niagara Falls are not limited to watching this extraordinary landscape, and there are other attractions for tourists, from amazing natural beauty to kilometers of hiking trails and historical places, fun that you probably didn't know about until now. Stay with us to introduce you to the countless entertainments of Niagara Falls on the American and Canadian side. The Table Rock Welcome Center is the best starting point for a tour of Niagara Falls in Canada. This center, which is located in the west of Horseshoe Falls, provides you with many possibilities to visit Niagara Falls. This building has a restaurant overlooking the waterfalls. Also, in this area there are shops, stores, information desk, and ticket sales where you can buy tickets for various attractions and tours. First, go to the viewing platform of the center above the western corner of the waterfall to watch this beautiful and huge waterfall from above from a very short distance. There is also an elevator installed in the Table Rock Welcome Center that will take you 45 meters underground. From there, it is possible to travel to the tunnels that were built in this area more than 130 years ago, the tunnels that are located in the bed of Niagara Falls and take you directly behind Niagara Falls to see this waterfall from another angle. At the end of these tunnels, there is an open platform where you can see the intensity of the Niagara Horseshoe Falls from below. Note that at this distance from the waterfall and with the high power of the water, it is certain that you will get wet, so be sure to wear plastic coveralls. Skylon Tower. The Skylon Tower is a 235-meter tower located only 700 meters beyond the Niagara Falls in the city of Niagara Falls, Ontario. This tower will provide you with an amazing 360-degree view of the three Niagara Falls as well as the city of Niagara Falls. Two open and closed viewing platforms, a revolving restaurant and a regular restaurant are other features of Skylon Tower. Niagara Falls Cruise Tours. Using cruise tours is another way to see and enjoy Niagara Falls. These tours with large cruise ships with a capacity of 700 people bring you as close to Niagara Falls as possible. Many tourists identify the cruise tour as the best experience in Niagara Falls, an experience at a short distance from the waterfall, touching the tiny drops of water and watching the splendor and power of nature that you will never forget. Niagara Falls cruise tours are usually active from mid-May to early December on both sides of Niagara Falls. Niagara Cable Car. The Niagara Cable Car has been operating in this area since 1916 and is one of the best attractions in Niagara Falls. This cable car is located at an altitude of 1,066 meters, 4 kilometers from Niagara Falls and on the Niagara River, and it can introduce you to the nature of this area. By riding this cable car, go 1 kilometer on both sides of the river in 10 minutes and come back to see the beauty of the area. The capacity of this cable car is 35 people per trip. The Niagara cable car is a red floating cabin in Niagara Falls that was built by a Spanish engineer named Leonardo Torres Coto. Although this cable car travels between 2 points on the Canadian coast, due to the shape of the river, it actually takes you 4 times across the international border of the two countries, the United States and Canada. You do not need a US visa to ride this cable car. Aerial tour over Niagara Falls by helicopter. If watching Niagara Falls from the open viewing platform of the falls or from the 235-meter height of the Skylon Tower was not enough for you and you were looking for a different experience, go for aerial tours of Niagara Falls. Get on a helicopter and fly over the sky in 15 to 20 minutes. Niagara Falls. See an amazing view of the triple Niagara Falls. The flight over Niagara Falls is made daily from 9 a.m. to sunset, an entertainment that is more than 50 years old in this area. Walking on Niagara Falls. A path of 400 meters is dedicated for walking on Niagara Falls to the edge of the gorge, where you can witness the magnificent roar of Niagara up close, where the speed of water reaches 35 kilometers per hour. This trail is along the Niagara Falls Highway. The working hours of this beautiful place vary in different seasons of the year. Watching Niagara at night. Tourists go to visit Niagara Falls during the day and night. You might think to yourself that it is not nice to see Niagara Falls at night, but you should know that many experienced tourists choose the night to visit this extraordinary natural attraction. Niagara Falls is illuminated from the Canadian side with powerful projectors and spotlights, and for this reason, visiting this waterfall at night has its own charm. At certain times of the year, such as celebrations and various ceremonies, attractive firework displays are held in the waterfall area, which is one of the most popular events among tourists. Zip line. Zip line is one of the favorite entertainments of adventurers and thrill seekers in Niagara Falls. By riding the zip line, you can watch the view of the waterfall from above with a sense of fear. The use of the zip line is prohibited for people under the age of 5. The 670-meter route of this zip line passes through the American waterfall and finally lands at the bottom of the Horseshoe Waterfall. Riding the zip line in winter is one of the most popular activities for tourists. Jet boat. The jet boat will bring you happy and exciting moments on Niagara Falls. This boat has a fully enclosed cabin for people who don't want to get wet. People under 16 years of age and less than 102 centimeters tall cannot use this boat. To board the jet boat, it is better to bring sunglasses, a hat, and a waterproof camera. Main game of golf. There are several golf courses in the area around Niagara that offer you the experience of an exciting game. Niagara Parks Power Plant. Fascinating stories from tall turbines to small details are hidden in Niagara Park's historic station, an attraction that is one of the newest attractions on the Canadian side. Explore the Evelyn Power Plant on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls and enjoy exhibits, restored antiques, and interactive stories. A visit to this power plant at night is highly recommended, when this sleeping giant of industry awakens in an interactive experience. Watch the fury of Niagara. Step back 10,000 years in history by watching Niagara's fury. Step into 4D cinema and discover the ancient story of Niagara Falls in this multi-sensory simulation of the Ice Age. In this cinema, the temperature will drop, fog and snow will fall on you, and you will be surrounded by stunning images along the mighty Niagara River. Stick firmly to the ground, because the earthquake will show you the power of Mother Nature. This family-friendly attraction is a great introduction to your Niagara Falls adventure. Experience Wild Rapids. The experience of Wild Rapids starts from Thompson's Point and offers you a fun and exciting experience above the Niagara Gorge. At the same time, you are completely overlooking the swirling waters of Niagara. 3 different routes are waiting for you in this experience, including dozens of climbing routes, zip lines and jumping in the middle of nature. Recreation in America. Niagara Falls State Park. Niagara Falls State Park is the first American state park in the city of Niagara Falls in the state of New York, which was built in 1885. American Waterfalls, Bridal Veil, and a part of Horseshoe Waterfall are located in this park. Niagara Falls State Park is located in an area of 400 hectares, a place where you will find an array of exciting activities and extraordinary attractions. You can also watch wildlife in this park. The famous architect, Frederick Law Olmsted, who also designed Central Park, has created a wonderland around Niagara Falls, a land that includes gardens, miles of challenging walking trails and stunning views. In the following, we will introduce you to the various recreational activities of Niagara Falls State Park. Visitor Center. In addition to providing maps and directions, the park's visitor center includes the Niagara Adventure Theater, the park's main gift shop, a cafe, and a restaurant. This center is a great place to start your Niagara Falls adventure, a place that has many interactive shows and exhibits to offer to visitors. The visitor center is open year-round and has several acres of wonderful flower gardens, gardens designed to depict the Great Lakes region above waterfalls, gardens in the shape of Lakes Michigan, Superior, Huron, and Erie, as well as a boardwalk that follows the path of the Niagara River. Boat tour and walk under the waterfall. Hiking and walking in Niagara Falls is one of the most popular activities in this area. Of course, if you plan to walk under the waterfalls, you should buy special tours. Tourists can go to the middle of the waterfall by boats wearing waterproof clothes and plastic cover. It is necessary to wear these clothes, because under the water falls with a lot of flow and will completely wet you. Tourists can also walk under the huge Niagara Falls and enjoy the freshness and beauty of this area. The name of the boat tour that takes you under the waterfalls is Mid of Mist Boat Tour. This tour has been recognized as the most popular tourist activity in Niagara Falls for over 150 years. This tour starts from the observation tower with two deck boats. The boats first pass by the foot of the American waterfall and then go to the basin of the Horseshoe Waterfall, an amazing path through the white and roaring waters of the waterfall and the gigantic stone structures. The Mid-of-Mist boat tour finally brings guests back to land for a different experience of the majesty and power of Niagara Falls. Watch a movie at the Niagara Adventures Theatre. Watching a documentary at the Niagara Adventures Theatre is one of the best things to do in Niagara Falls, an impressive and startling experience that puts the incredible stories and history of Niagara Falls in front of your eyes in just half an hour. Discover the thundering Niagara Falls from a new and exciting angle and learn more about the historical details of this waterfall. Niagara Aquarium. An ocean of new experiences awaits you at Niagara Falls' other wet attraction, the Aquarium of Niagara. This aquarium, which is a great option to visit after watching the waterfalls, has more than 30 exhibits, including the Sea Aliens Mermaid exhibit, the Modern Penguin Beach exhibit, and the Shark and Table Fish exhibit. This aquarium has more than 120 aquatic species, daily feeding schedule of penguins and manatees, sea lion show and expert talks. You can visit the Niagara Aquarium on foot or by using the park train. The aquarium also has educational exhibits that teach visitors about animal conservation and the highest quality animal care. More than 1,500 aquatic creatures live in the Niagara Aquarium, among the most important of which are California sea lions, rescue jaws, Peruvian Humboldt penguins, sharks, caviar, seahorses, coral reefs, and more. Cave of the Wines. Badha Cave is a natural cave behind Niagara Waterfall. This cave is 40 meters high, 30 meters wide and 9 meters deep. Cave of Wines was discovered in 1834 and its original name was Aeolus, the Greek god of wines. Tours have been held in this cave since 1841. The tour starts from Goat Island and going down the stairs near the waterfall. The rock fall in 1920 led to the closure of this cave. Badha Cave was reopened in 1924 and this time tourists were guided in front of it instead of behind Niagara Waterfall. At that time, during the visit to Badha Cave, a situation similar to a typhoon was experienced, because the wind speed below the waterfall reached more than 60 meters per hour. Today, tourists to visit the Cave of the Wines take an elevator down from the place between the American and Canadian Falls to reach the level of the Niagara River and the source of the American Falls. Paths made of redwood and platforms in this place allow visitors to move to the top and source of Niagara Waterfall and watch the water flow of the waterfall closely. It is interesting to know that these wooden paths are assembled every fall and built again in the spring, because in the cold season, when the water freezes, serious damage is done to them. Hiking trails. Niagara Gorge hiking trails start from the center of Niagara Gorge Trailhead, the gate that leads you to one of the best walking and cycling routes in this area. You can choose easy routes or challenging routes, with steep stairs and rocks for rock climbing. Tourists should bring water and suitable hiking shoes, move along the marked path and not enter the water. Tours of the Niagara Gorge Hiking Trail are available from late May to mid-October. There are several hiking trails in Niagara Falls State Park. The simple 1-hour route has no age limit and is suitable for beginners. The simple 2-hour route is another suitable route for beginners, which is parallel to the previous route. The relatively easy route of 2 to 5 hours hosts the rapids of Satan's Hole and Big Stone and has an age limit of over 8 years. The challenging and very difficult 3-hour route is recommended for experienced people, a path where you should also expect rock climbing. Watching the night illuminations. Hundreds of LED lights from 3 points illuminate Niagara Falls from the state park, a breathtaking view that dazzles the eyes throughout the year from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. At some times of the year, such as holidays or special days, Niagara Falls is decorated with extraordinary and special lighting at 10:15 p.m. Waterfall Viewing Platform. The Niagara Falls viewing platform on top of Niagara Gorge is one of the architectural wonders of the modern age in this park, a platform that gives you the experience of watching the roaring waters of the waterfalls from an astonishing angle. Niagara Gorge is an 11-kilometer-long gorge created by the Niagara River on the border of the United States and Canada. Lifts depart from the beginning of the Niagara Gorge and take you to the waterfall viewing platform and the starting point of the Mid of the Mist tour. This platform is the only point that has a panoramic view of all 3 Niagara Falls. Visitors can also reach a place called Crow's Nest by climbing the stairs from the source of Niagara Gorge, a foggy spot of waterfall water drops with clean air and unique views. Bird watching is another popular activity at the waterfall viewing platform. Those interested can watch seahawks, bald eagles and other birds of Niagara Falls from this point. Visiting the ruins of the Shelkoff Power Plant. The Shelkoff Power Plant was built between 1905 and 1924 and was one of the largest hydroelectric power plants in the world at the time. The complex consisted of offices, porters' quarters, and other buildings at the top of Niagara Gorge and turbine-powered power stations at the base. The water of the Niagara River above the falls was transported by a 4,600-foot canal, a canal that extended from the city to the edge of the gorge. On the morning of June 7, 1956, workers noticed water dripping from the back wall of the power plant. They tried to stop the water leakage by covering the wall with 40 sandbags, but unfortunately, at 5 o'clock in the evening of the same day, the power plant was destroyed and more than 2/3 of it was destroyed. 6 generators producing 322,500 horsepower were destroyed and more than $100 million in damage was done to the plant. A worker died during the destruction of the power plant, but the rest managed to escape. The entire southern part of the power plant fell into the river and the explosion of the generators was so intense that pieces of them were thrown into Canada. In 2013, Mid of Mist renovated part of the powerhouse to use it as a boathouse during the cold winter months. The elevator access was opened as part of the project, the reconstruction, and access of the elevator to the gorge and the Shell Cove power plant. Visitors can also access a connected hiking trail from this point. This lift is free to ride and is open seasonally. Train. The park train gives passengers an overview of the park and provides historical anecdotes, fun facts, and tips for exploring the park's most popular attractions. This eco-friendly train runs on natural gas, is heated in winter and air-conditioned in summer. Other attractions in Niagara Falls State Park: watching fireworks shows, eating ice cream, coffee, various drinks, snacks, grilled foods and a variety of sandwiches in cafes and snack bars of the park, experiencing modern and classic American cuisine in the only restaurant above Niagara Falls, and buying a variety of souvenirs from 3 gift shops. The park is another recreation of Niagara Falls State Park. Visiting the Three Sisters Island. Three Sisters Island is one of the main attractions of Niagara Falls, located on the southern coastline of Goat Island and connected to it by a wooden bridge. The name of this island is taken from 3 sisters named Chelinda, Angelina, and Asenath Whitney. Sisters are buried in Oakwood Cemetery, Niagara Falls, New York. The late General Whitney, the father of these 3 girls, was one of the first residents of this area. He immigrated to Niagara Falls in 1810. General Whitney is best known for the establishment and management of the Cascade House Hotel on top of the Cascade. The Three Sisters Island is located just a short distance from the Canada-US border in the state of New York. It is said that General Whitney's daughters were the first to visit the Three Sisters Island. Photography. Photographing and recording amazing pictures of Niagara Falls is one of the other activities in this area. It is interesting to know that many professional photographers travel to Canada and America throughout the year to photograph the pristine and spectacular views of Niagara. Swim. At the bottom of Niagara Falls, there are protected areas for swimming. This is the place where water is collected and divided for use in power plants. To swim and enjoy the roaring waters of Niagara, you must go to the pier and protected areas. Remember that swimming is not possible in dangerous places. Watch the rainbow. Because of the many drops of water suspended in the air and also the sunlight, very beautiful and stunning rainbows are usually created on Niagara Falls. Rainbows are among the top attractions of this waterfall. Best time to visit Niagara Falls. Choosing the best time to travel to Niagara Falls depends on your taste. Of course, most tourists prefer to see Niagara Falls in its most watery state, that too when the weather is good. Next, get to know the weather and conditions of Niagara Falls in different seasons of the year. Niagara Falls is snowy and cold until the end of April in spring, but the weather is getting warmer from May. Niagara Falls hosts the largest number of tourists and visitors in the 3 months of summer. Of course, to travel at this time of the year, you must book your flight and hotel several months in advance. If you are looking for a more affordable trip, choose the fall season for a trip to Niagara Falls. Of course, you should know that snowfall starts in December in this region. Winter season is also a good time to visit the waterfall, of course, provided that you like snow and ice and don't run away from the cold. Niagara Falls is white in the season and most of its parts are frozen. Being in the deafening silence of this area and hearing the sound of falling water in winter is a unique and unrepeatable experience. Does Niagara Falls freeze in winter? The huge volume of water in Niagara Falls never stops flowing, even in winter. The presence of fog and falling water in the height on the days when the temperature drops, create beautiful ice forms on the banks of the river and the sides of the waterfall, ice masses that may be 15 meters thick. If the winter is cold enough, the ice will spread completely across the river, creating a surface known as an ice bridge. Until 1912, tourists could walk on the ice bridge and watch the waterfall from below. In a local newspaper on February 24, 1888, it was reported that at least 20,000 people were watching and sledding on the ice bridge at that time, and the waterfall was full of photographers and people's curiosity. But on February 4, 1912, the ice bridge broke and 3 tourists disappeared. Since then, tourists were no longer allowed to walk on the ice bridge. Every year small icebergs flow from Lake Erie into the Niagara River. In recent years, this flow has decreased significantly with the installation of an ice dam in Lake Erie. The barrage is a 2.3 kilometers long steel floating chain that stretches across the Niagara River from Buffalo, New York to Fort Erie, Ontario. This chain is installed during January and removed in March or April. The public company New York Power Authority is responsible for the maintenance of this project. The ice dam prevents the river from being blocked and, most importantly, the water consumption of power plants by ice masses. However, on March 29, 1848, the water flow of both waterfalls stopped for several hours due to the accumulation of ice on the upper river. The waterfalls were not actually frozen and it was the flow of water that stopped, so that people could walk in the river and collect the objects inside it. Important tips for traveling to Niagara Falls. Undoubtedly, seeing Niagara Falls is a dream for many people around the world, so if you manage to travel to this extraordinary waterfall, use all your time to enjoy Niagara Falls and the sound of rushing water and seagulls. In the following, we will provide you with some important tips for visiting this natural attraction so that you have an interesting and unforgettable trip. Be sure to pay attention to the travel season and the temperature of the area before traveling and wear appropriate clothes. Don't worry about getting wet, because upon arrival you will be given clothes to wear over your clothes and not get wet. Choose the time of your trip to the waterfall based on your interest and taste. Keep in mind that visiting this waterfall at any time of the year has its beauty and advantages. If you intend to enter and see Niagara Falls from Canada, you must have a Canadian visa, and if you are going to see the falls from New York, you must have an American visa, otherwise, you will not be allowed to watch the other half of the waterfall. Go to Niagara Falls with a reliable travel tour. Depending on the travel time, Many people may travel to this area at the same time, so it's natural to wait in line to buy a ticket or a boat ride. Before the trip, get complete information about its attractions and entertainment to make the best use of your time. Sights around Niagara Falls. Niagara Carousel. The Niagara Carousel is one of the newest attractions near Niagara Falls. This carousel is considered the largest observation carousel in Canada and allows you to watch the roaring Niagara Falls from a height of more than 53 meters. The Niagara Carousel is equipped with carriages that are adjusted according to the weather, so this attraction is open all year round. Each ride on this carousel takes between 8 and 12 minutes, and depending on the working hours, you can ride the carousel during the day and at night. The experience of this merry-go-round at night with a view of city lights and colorful waterfalls is unique. Minolta Tower. The Tower Hotel, also known as the Minolta Tower, was built in 1962 in the Falls View area of Niagara Falls, Ontario. This tower was the first modern high-rise building that allowed visitors to watch Niagara Falls from a height. The Minolta Tower has an indoor observation deck, a restaurant, a wedding hall and a 4-star Ramada Plaza Falls View Hotel. The height of Minolta Tower is 99 meters from the street level and it is 160 meters above the waterfall. Niagara Road. The Niagara Road is a beautiful 55-kilometer drive that starts in Niagara-on-the-Lake and runs along the gorge of Niagara Falls to Fort Erie. There are many parks and green spaces along this road, and this has caused many tourists to get out of their cars and watch the scenery of this road. Some of the most popular attractions on this road include the mud clock, rapid whirlpools, and butterfly greenhouse. A beautiful walking trail and bike path are also located next to Niagara Park along this road. Niagara Butterfly Park. The Niagara Butterfly Park houses more than 2,000 butterflies from more than 50 species of tropical forest, butterflies that fly on water and allow visitors and enthusiasts to witness the growth and development cycle of a butterfly up close. This park is one of the largest protected glass sanctuaries of butterflies in North America and was opened in 1996. You can watch the butterflies in the Niagara Butterfly Park in the winding paths of 180 meters in a green space. The tour in this park starts with a short video. Brook Monument and Queenstown Heights Park. The Brock Monument and Queenston Heights Park are located on the highest point of the Niagara Falls in Queenstown. By going to this park, you can see a magnificent view of Lake Ontario in the north and Niagara Falls in the south. This historical monument is open on all days of the week. Niagara Botanical Gardens. The Botanical Garden is located along Niagara Parkway in the northern part of Canadian Falls and is maintained by the Faculty of Horticulture. This beautiful environment in a unique space is used as a classroom for students of the Faculty of Horticulture. Niagara Botanical Garden was built in European style in 1936 on an area of 40 hectares. Do not miss visiting this garden. Hour of Flowers in Niagara, Ontario. Flower Watch is one of the most unique watches in the world. This clock is maintained by the park ranger and its design changes twice a year. One of the features of this flower clock is the Westminster bell on the back, a bell that welcomes you. Niagara Bird Sanctuary. If you are interested in birds, be sure to visit the Niagara Bird Kingdom. This attraction, which is one of the best indoor activities in the region during the winter season, is considered one of the largest indoor bird shelters in the world. Many beautiful and colorful tropical birds live in this place. In this place, you can feed the birds and interact closely with them. Don't forget to take pictures with these lovely creatures. Niagara Zoo. Safari Niagara Zoo is a 150-hectare area managed by the Nature Park. More than 1,000 native, non-native mammals, reptiles and birds live in this zoo. Walking tours in this zoo are free. In addition, visitors can participate in activities such as safari, bungee jumping, cycling, sailing, kite flying, fishing and sand pit. Niagara on the Lake. The physical appearance of Niagara on the Lake is a symbol of the city burned by America during the War of 1812. The city of Niagara on the Lake is one of the most beautiful areas in the world, located along the Niagara Peninsula, right where the Niagara River meets Lake Ontario. And transportation in it is done by horse and cart. There are many historical and natural attractions in the city of Niagara on the Lake. In addition, many festivals and celebrations are held there. Old Erie Fort. Old Fort Erie is the first British fort built in Canada after the 7 Years' War. This fort is located south of the city of Fort Erie, Ontario, across the Niagara River, and is currently maintained by Niagara Parks. You can discover the scary history of the War of 1812 by going to this fort. On tours of Old Erie Fort, a costumed guide will tell you the spooky stories that flow from the fort's cobblestones. Currently, due to the corona situation, there are 20 people in each tour inside the castle. Thank you for being with me until the end of the clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.